aham, I, mama, mine, iti, thus, etasmin, in this, yojitaha, engaged, tvaya, by you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. Purport. The false ego of identifying one's body as one's self and claiming things possessed in relationship with this body is called the Maya. I'll repeat that word again. The false ego of identifying one's body as oneself and claiming things possessed in relationship with this body is called Maya. In Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and from me come everyone's remembrance and forgetfulness. Devahudi has stated that false identification of the body with the self and attachment for possessions in relation to the body are also under the direction of the Lord. Does this mean that the Lord discriminates by engaging one in his devotional service and another in sense gratification? If that were true, it would be an incongruity on the part of the Supreme Lord. But that is not the actual fact. As soon as the living entity forgets his real constitutional position of eternal servitorship to the Lord and wants instead to enjoy himself by sense gratification, he is captured by Maya. This capture by Maya is the consciousness of false identification with the body and attachment for the possessions of the body. These are activities of Maya. And since Maya is also an agent of the Lord, it is indirectly the action of the Lord. The Lord is merciful. If anyone wants to forget him and enjoy this material world, he gives him full facility. Not directly, but through the agency of his material potency. Therefore, since the material potency is the Lord's energy, indirectly it is the Lord who gives the facility to forget him. Devahudi therefore said, my engagement in sense gratification was also due to you. Now kindly get me free from this entanglement. By the grace of the Lord, one is allowed to enjoy this material world, but when one is disgusted with material enjoyment and is frustrated, when one sincerely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Lord is so kind that he frees one from entanglement. Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita, first of all, surrender, and then I will take charge of you and free you from all reactions of sinful activities. Sinful activities are those activities performed in forgetfulness of our relationship with the Lord. In this material world, activities for material enjoyment, which are considered to be pious, are also sinful. For example, one sometimes gives something in charity to a needy person with a view to getting back the money 4 times increased. Giving with the purpose of gaining something is called charity in the mode of passion. Everything done here is done in the modes of material nature. Therefore, all activities but service to the Lord are sinful. Because of sinful activities, we become attracted by the illusion of material attachment. And we think, I am this body. I think of the body as myself and bodily possessions as mine. Devahudi requested Lord Kapila to free her from this entanglement of false identification and false possessions. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalaghaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthavidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamaiham Dadati Supadandigam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Udapadagamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Regunadadidam Tam Sajivam Sadhuidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalidam Shri Vishakhanidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopiga Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktum Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinamatidabastu Ma Vidushavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyarva Buddhyatmana Va Prakriti Swabhavat Karomi Yaddal Sagalam Parasmai Narayana Yedi Samarpayami Harihi Om Tatsat. The Krishna dear devotees, thank you so much for joining today, very auspicious day of Ekadashi. Today's Ekadashi is known as Parshva Ekadashi or Parivartana Ekadashi or Padmini Ekadashi, different names. Parshva Ekadashi means the Supreme Lord, this Chaturmas, this 4 months is the period of Supreme Lord goes to the Yoga Nidra, transcendental sleep. So on this day, the Lord turns to one side to the another side. So that's called Parshva. So the Lord moves from one side to another side in the transcendental sleep. So it's mentioned that one who observed this Parshva Ekadashi properly, one can eradicate all his sinful reactions. So it's a very, very auspicious and powerful Ekadashi that one observes properly can get rid of all their sinful reactions. So we are here today to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Supreme Lord Himself. On this Friday, this is known as Bhadrapada, Bhadra Purnima. Very, very auspicious day, most of in this considered in this year, the Bhadrapada, Bhadra Purnima is very most auspicious. And it's mentioned that in the 12th canto, 13th chapter, 13th verse, it is mentioned that one who offers, donates as a gift the Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne, one can attain the abode of the Supreme Lord. No doubt, whatever he has, whatever the sinful activities he performed, no matter what, one who offers, donates this Srimad Bhagavatam, and on this day, one can attain the Supreme Abode. So, it also signifies the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the transcendental knowledge which reveals, and this Bhagavatam is the Supreme Lord Himself. Before Supreme Lord leaves this planet, imparted this, that I would be in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is worshipable. And Srimad Bhagavatam, one can consider as the Supreme Lord Himself. We should be always hear Srimad Bhagavatam, consider Srimad Bhagavatam, and worship Srimad Bhagavatam as the Supreme Lord Himself. So these words of each is always mentioned that the Lord and his representatives, the representatives always, spiritual masters, representatives, always speaks the same word as the Supreme Lord. So we should consider the devotees, spiritual master, they are all representatives of the Lord. And whatever they speak as that as the instructions of the Lord. So as Srimad Bhagavatam here, we can see that in the beginning, in the context of this Srimad Bhagavatam, in the beginning of this chapter, Shaunaka Rishi was addressing to Sudha Goswami. So we know that the entire context of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Sudha Goswami was speaking to Srimad Bhagavatam to the thousands of sages assembled in Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi. So basically, they asked the questions about how one can attain the Supreme Lord, especially when they are about to die, when they are in this world. What is the ultimate goal of this human form of life? That's where the Srimad Bhagavatam is starting. They ask 6 questions. And then Sudha Goswami is revealing that the truth, absolute knowledge, and the transcendental truth to the thousands of sages assembled in Naimisharanya. Then this chronological order that we can see that. Then when Sudha Goswami was speaking to Shaunaka Rishi, and then it's not that, just like a story form. No, this is the history, this is Puran. And this is explained in such a way that, so that its whole incident happens, this all happens in the past, and the conversation, and it's all happened. These all activities of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, it's all happened. And Sudha Goswami, which heard from Sukadeva Goswami, and explained in such a way that, and the same way than how Sukadeva Goswami explained to the Parishit Maharaj. And then here Sudha Goswami was quoting the Maitreya Muni and Mahatma Vidura. And then Mahatma Vidura went with Maitreya Muni. And then Mahatma Vidura asked about this question, about what is the essence, how one can realize the Supreme and get rid of this, our material conceptions of life. That's where Maitreya Muni was explaining all this and inquiries from Vidura. And then here we can see that the Maitreya Muni was explaining to Mahatma Vidura, that's where in the previous verses Maitreya was speaking, that then the Lord Kapila manifested as a son of Kardama Muni and Mother Devahuti. And then Kardama Muni left, and then Lord Kapila stayed back at the hermitage of Bindu Sarovara, where the Mother Devahuti resides. Now, Mother Devahuti was recollecting the words of Brahma. This is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's where the Shaunaka Rishi was saying that the Supreme Lord Himself manifests by His internal potency. When the Supreme Lord manifests by His internal potency, so this is where everybody got very much excited. Now the Supreme Lord manifested as a son of Kardama Muni and Mother Devahuti, and then they are so eager to hear the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, Lord Kapila. That's where Maitreya Muni again was speaking. This is the context of Maitreya Muni was speaking about Mother Devahuti and Kardama Muni. Now Maitreya Muni started to speak, and Lord stayed in the Bindu Sarovar. It's a the place where originally the Kardama Muni was meditated upon. And by the meditation of Kardama Muni, the Lord appeared before Kardama Muni, and seeing that the devotion and the love for the Godhead, there is a drop came out from the Lord's eye, and that became transcendental. That's called Bindu Sarovar. And that's where the Mother Devahuti now resides, and Lord Kapiladev was, also there with Mother Devahuti. Understanding this is Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mother Devahuti requested to Lord Kapiladev, you are manifested in this world to dissipate the darkness of this world. So you only can do that. So Srila Prabhupada was mentioning that if one wants to know the Supreme Lord, the best way to understand, hear from that Supreme Lord himself, nobody else can reveal that transcendental truth. Because of only Lord can reveal that, nobody else can do that. So here Mother Devahudi is addressing to the Supreme Lord Kapiladev that you are manifested in this world to dissipate the darkness of the ignorance. So be pleased unto me. Now be pleased, my Lord. Dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. This is a great realization, dear devotees, and the great knowledge that which Mother Devahudi is imparting to us as well, for all human race, that what is our condition, what is our situation. So we are all going through this. And this is what it is because of when one approaches spiritual master. So here Mother Devahudi considers the Lord and to impart this transcendental knowledge so that we can dispel our darkness of ignorance. Ajnana timirandasya. Ajnana means the ignorance, and timira andasya. We are all contracted, covered with these cataracts of darkness, and we cannot see anything. When we are not able to see anything, then we are completely under the illusion. And we think, we assume, and we took everything as is our own. Then we think that, okay, this is it, nothing beyond it. So we are under the deep, darkest well Andakoop. So here, Mother Devahudi, only you can dispel that. So this should be our mood. So we are all in this material world under the illusion of this material energy. So Mother Devahudi is saying, due to my feeling for false ego, that's where, everything is starting, this material world, the creation itself is starting. This one word is called false ego. So it's very important that Mother Devahudi is realizing, and even though Mother Devahudi was associated with the Kardamuni, who was the greatest of the devotees, but still feeling this. Yes, we are in this material world. Many times we are all completely carried away this material energy in so many things, so many ways. And we know that even when Mother Devahudi and Kardamuni passed thousands of years in enjoyment, forgetting everything, and then came to the real consciousness, and this is the nature of this material world. It can drag us away, can take us away into this material pool of, this ocean of suffering. That's called Bhavasagar. Bhavasagar means the material ocean of misery. There is a concept called Bhavarog. And these feelings of myself, body, and bodily relations, and sense perceptions, and attachment, and all this called Bhavarog. When you are completely immersed with this Bhavarog, you are naturally into this Bhavasagar, into this ocean of suffering, there's no doubt. So Mother Devahudi is realizing this. And not only that, Mother Devahudi is also a greatest devotee. Let's say the Lord is also come as their son. And in the previous life, Mother Devahudi and Kardama in the previous life, and Aditi and Kashyapa, like that. So they were all devotees of the Lord. So because of their devotion and their devotion in the past lives, the Lord is coming as their sons. So Mother Devahudi is revealing here a great principle of that, our constitution, how we are suffering in this world, and what is the ways, what is the means to liberate ourselves from these clutches of this material suffering, the ocean of suffering. So that's where we need to really focus on these words that Mother Devahudi is saying that, please dispel my illusion or delusion or the Maya. So there is a great way that when Narada Muni met with Vasudev, when Vasudeva is in Dwaraka, then as soon as Vasudeva saw Narada Muni is coming and paid the obeisances, and Vasudeva thought that this is the opportunity. Narada is a great devotee, great sage. And to dispel my darkness, dispel my illusion, let me inquire from Narada how I can transcend myself and get rid of this material attachment from this material world. So Vasudeva requested Narada to impart this transcendental knowledge. That is the time Narada was quoting again that 9 Yogendras met with King Nimi. Then Nimi is also asked this same question, Nava Yogendras or 9 great sages. Yogendras, Indra means the greatest, and then yoga, they are completely transcends themselves by the process of devotion. So they are they are the sons of the Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj had, the Rishabhadev had 100 sons. And out of Rishabhadev, that these 9 Yogendras, they became the great sages. And here when King Nimi met with, saw this 9 Yogendras, King Nimi also asked this question. Said, devotees, this is our way of life. That means the moment we see a devotee, a spiritual master, a guru, a sadhu, we should inquire from them submissively. Because of unless and until we inquire submissively and try to understand the transcendental knowledge from him, that's why in the Bhagavad Gita says, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena seveya upadekshandiye jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So one should approach a spiritual master and inquire from very submissively and hear from him submissively and give the services very menially so that they can impart this transcendental knowledge because they have seen the truth. So this should be our condition, like Mother Devahudi was inquiring very submissively from the Lord. Similarly, those who are seeking, aspiring, and understanding that our condition in this material world should seek very submissively from the realized souls because they have seen the truth. And we are under the spell of this Maya, this illusory energy. So there, the 9 Yogendras, they were started to give the answer, and King Nimi wanted to know what is this illusion, what is this potency of the Maya. So Mother Devahudi was remembering and saying to Lord Kapila, due to feeling of my false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya. See that the difference? I have been engaged by your Maya. So due to feeling of false ego, and I have been engaged by your Maya. So here Mother Devahudi is understanding properly how this world and how things are happening in this material world. And we should also understand this. So Lord's potency, this is external potency of the Lord. That's a Bahiranga Shakti, this material energy. And then material energy, how it is affecting us. And Srila Prabhupada writes very nicely in the purport, the moment we think that this material world, this material body and my possessions and everything for my own sense enjoyment, then one falls down into this illusory energy. And then Srila Prabhupada writes further that then one possesses like that, and then completely then the Maya captures such people. The moment we think that by the false ego, then completely the Maya captures, the material energy captures such person. So here, similarly, the king Nimi asked this question, what is Maya, what is illusion? So the Antariksha, the 9 Yogendras, the Kavi, the Havir, Antariksha, Pipalayana, there are like that, there are 9 Yogendras. The Antariksha mentioned to the King Nimi, and it goes like this, beautiful. And Antariksha was saying, false ego means accepting this body as oneself. when one understands that he is not his body and spirit soul, that is real ego. So this is what we should understand, the devotees, from this verse. There is a false ego and there is a real ego. The real ego means that one understands he is not this body, and his nature, his transcendental nature, he is spirit soul. But the body, mind, senses, all are the temporary material arrangement. So Srila Prabhupada also says that, in the similar context, ego is there. That is natural, that's a constitution, ego. But false ego is condemned. False ego means our false identification. So we are all falsely identifying ourselves as male, female, black, white, Indian, American, there's so many false identification, but we don't realize that we are eternal part and parcel of the Supreme. So like that, then the Supreme Lord was giving this answer. Supreme Lord was saying this in many situations, many places, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all the causes. So then Antariksha said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all the causes. Created the 5 material elements from which the material bodies of the conditioned souls are created, so that the conditioned souls may cultivate either sense gratification or ultimate liberation. So Antariksha quoted that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is created these material elements. That's where Lord Kapila was going to speak about the 24 material elements. The Supreme Lord created this for the identification, so that one can realize his identity, and then he can engage either in the material activities or in the spiritual activities. So then Supreme Lord appearing as a super soul, and the Supreme Lord enters into the material bodies of the created beings and then activates the senses of the conditioned soul. See that? These are sense. That's why, it's very great detail. It is explains that there is, without the Supreme Lord, nothing happens in this world. So this material energy is also the energy of the Supreme Lord. So then Mother Devahudi here realizing that this is by your energy. Maya is your energy. So Lord, so please give me transcendental eyes. So only Lord can impart that. Only by Lord's mercy that, dear devotees, we can even understand Him. That's why Srila Prabhupada quotes in that the purport, Sarvasya chaham hrudi sannivishto madhas madhur jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarva mahameva vedyo vedanta kripteva kripveda chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart. From me come remembrance, from me come knowledge, and from me comes forgetfulness. All this comes from the Supreme Lord. So it depends on the desires of that what we need. The moment we think that, okay, I need to be enjoyed, that's because of the free will, I need to be enjoyed in this world, that material energy that's in the form of indirectly captures us, that's called the Maya's energy. But the moment we think that is also mercy of the Lord, the desires, we have the strong desire to serve the Lord, worship the Lord, then our dormant transcendental love for the Supreme Lord awakens, and then we completely surrenders unto the Lord. So here Mother Devahudi requesting, similarly, please give that the transcendental vision. Only you can do that. So dear devotees, it's very important that only by the mercy of the Lord and His devotees that we can come out from this, our cataracts, this Anjana Gyananta Mirandasya, we can come out from this, our completely covered by the ignorant, and can come out only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So we should be also understand that same position that Mother Devahudi considered herself. We should also come to that position and understand this, and always have seeking that the mercy of the Lord and His devotees, so that we can progress in the bhakti. So with this note, I would end here. Thank you so much for being here, joining here, this beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam Plus. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day and week ahead. A week filled with nice auspicious days starting from today, Ekadasi. And tomorrow is Vaman Dwadasi, so today is fasting completely for Vaman Dwadasi till noon, and then fasting for Ekadasi, minimally fasting from grains and beans after noon. Ekadasi Kirtan in the evening from 7 to 9 p.m. We'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Jai Narsingo, Jai Narsingo, Jai Jai Narsingo, Praladesha Jaya Padma Ugraviram
Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukham Narsinga Bhisham Mrityum Namami.
Narsinga Bhagwan ki Jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the Samar Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo patitanam Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय,
जय
गौर प्रेमानंदे
हरि बोल. Thank you, Simeshwar Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Happy Ekadashi to everyone. Hare Krishna.